symbols are meant to make the life of a poet probably easy. I don't know whether it really makes the life of readers as easy as the poets would think. But sometimes symbols have become universal in nature. Over the period of time, there have been certain objects, certain things from nature, which or from the holy texts, which have been used as symbols in all our literary texts also. So this by way of which they have become universal symbols, and they represent a certain thing. For example, we all know what red roses are symbolic of, or what yellow roses are symbolic of, or what the sign of peace is symbolic of, and so on and so forth. But a lot of poets and a lot of authors use objects or use certain words which they make their symbols in order to convey something which might be very private to them. And they use these to create an aura of excitement sometimes, an aura of mystery also sometimes. So you have quite a few poets who started doing this, roughly say, as far as the history in literature is concerned, after the First World War, it became quite a, kind of a fashion to use a lot of symbols. And some poets in English became famous for using symbols in their work. One of those who became really well known for using symbols in his poetry was W.B. Yeats, who was an Irish poet. In fact, he would be known probably as the national poet of Ireland. And then we had Frost from America, who used a lot of symbols in his poems, and a lot of his poems we have all read. Frost is very, very popular, Robert Frost. So I will read some examples of these poems in which symbols have been used, and I would also like to, use the example of a very contemporary poet also. But first, I'll begin by reading out a very tiny, a small poem by Robert Frost, which is quite popular. Manisha, can you just help this lady? She's so keen on joining, but she's just not able to. She's, I'll just send her number to you if you could help her to join.
Ma'am, please forward the number. I'll talk to her.
Yeah, yeah. I've done that, Manisha. So I'm reading out a very small poem by Robert Frost, and I think you will be able to guess the symbols in this. This is a poem called Dust of Snow. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. So, literally, it's just two sentences in two tiny stanzas. But he's used some very powerful symbols to talk about the experience that he had as he sat under a hemlock tree and a crow dusted some snow on him, and how this affected the mood that he was in as he sat under the hemlock tree. Now, if you look at the symbols over there, the crow is one, the hemlock is another, snow is the third one. So if you look at these three symbols, the crow has become a universal symbol because crow always represents to us the darker side of things. The crow represents evil. The crow represents darkness of the mood, of the mind, or of the atmosphere. So, crow sitting on a tree, not just an ordinary tree, but a hemlock tree. Again, hemlock, which means poison. So the crow, combination of the crow and the hemlock
Right.
creates that kind of an exaggerated situation of a dark mood. And the narrator or the poet sitting under the tree has an upliftment of his mood when this crow drops a dust of snow, as he says, just a bit of snow on his head. And the whole mood again changes. And the narrator says that I rued the rest of the day that I had spent not being happy. This snow that was thrown on me suddenly uplifted my mood. So here also you see the contrast of the blackness of the crow and the whiteness of the snow, and we know again white becomes a symbol of purity and of peace and of happiness. So the poet, just merely by using these objects, the bird and the tree from nature, has created an atmosphere where he's trying to say that small, insignificant acts in nature, or small insignificant acts that happen on a daily basis, maybe, or once in a way, can actually cause such a lot of a change in the human nature. So this is precisely what he's trying to convey through this poem. So you see how powerfully he has used these three symbols here, and just two sentences in the poem, but the deliberation on this poem can go on and on for quite some time. And like I said, we have examples from W.B. Yeats, where some of his famous poems are like the Lake Isle of Innisphere, where he talks about going back into nature, and he kind of wonders why is he staying in the urban areas, and he talks about the beauty of the lakeside, and he talks about returning to this place and staying in a log cabin. That's what the Lake of Innisphere talks about. And he uses all these symbols to convey a simple message, particularly in the industrialized period, and how progress brought man away from all these pleasures of life in smaller cities and smaller rural areas. So this is something that we see in W.B. Yeats' poems, whether it is Lake of Innisphere or whether it is Prayer for My Daughter, and a lot of other poems that he became famous for. But I'd like to read a slightly longish poem by a very contemporary poet, and she's quite a favorite of mine today. She's an Arabian, and her name is Naomi Shihab Nye. And the poem here is called Hugging the Jukebox. On an island, the soft hue of memory, moss green, kerosene yellow, drifting, mingling in the Caribbean Sea. A 6-year-old named Alfred learns all the words to all the songs on his grandparents' jukebox and sings them. To learn the words is not so hard. Many barmaids and teenagers have done as well. But to sing as Alfred sings, how can a giant whale live in the small pool of his chest? How can there be breakers this high, notes crashing at the beach of the throat, and a reef of coral so enormous only the fishes know the size? The grandparents watch. They can't sing. They don't know who this voice is, trapped in their grandson's body. The boy whose parents sent him back to the island to chatter, mango talk, and scrap with chickens. 3 years ago, he didn't know the word sad. Now he strings 100 passionate sentences on a single line. He bangs his fist so they will raise the volume. What will they do together in their old age? It is hard enough keeping yourself alive. And this wild boy, loving nothing but music, he'll sing all night, hugging the jukebox when a record pauses that live second before dropping down. Alfred hugs tighter, arms stretched wide, head pressed on the luminous belly. Now he yells, a half smile when the needle breathes again. They've tried putting him to bed, but he sings in bed, even in Spanish. And he doesn't speak Spanish. Sings and screams, wants to go back to the jukebox. Oh, Mama, I was born with the trumpet in my throat. Spent all these years trying to cough it up. He can't even read yet. He can't tell time. But he sings. And the chairs in this old dance hall jerk to attention. The grandparents lean on the counter, shaking their heads. The customers stop talking and stare, goozy bumps surfacing on their arms. His voice carries out to the water where boats are tied and sings for all of them. A wave for the hens now roosting in trees, for the mute boy next door, his second best friend, and for the hurricane now brewing near Barbados. So tell me, what is the symbol, biggest symbol that is being used here? And to convey what? Would anyone like to answer? It's very obvious. The topic itself is the symbol. The jukebox becomes a symbol over here because the jukebox conveys what is so close to the boy, and it conveys what is something so precious for him, and it's the jukebox that connects him with the memories of his parents, is the jukebox that is traditionally being carried down the generations from his grandparents to his parents to him, and so on and so forth. So if you read the poem for yourselves, if you analyze it, and you will find so many symbolic things that the jukebox box represents over here. So that's what symbols do. They create an atmosphere, they create an aura, and they leave us with this, with the memory of this particular thing. What will stay with us after we've read the poem is the jukebox and Alfred's connection to the jukebox and the dilemma that he has thrown his grandparents in. So that's the importance of symbolism in any work of art. Mr. Ghosh will be talking to you about symbolism in paintings. And then Jatin, of course, both the gentlemen told me today that they don't have too much to say. And so I took a little extra time with their permission, and my apologies, of course. So I would now invite Mr. Ghosh to talk to us about symbolism in art.
Good evening, all of you. Uh, in fact, I'm very happy that whatever I had to say, almost everything Brinda has touched. And maybe few things I'll keep repeating because things are absolutely common. It is that period when poetry, these artists, musicians, dramatists, they were all friends and they used to sit together and they used to meet and they used to discuss. No wonder they were all in the same line. I'll go back to now again, symbolism. Symbolism, for us Indians, symbolism is not a very strange thing. If you look at All are gods, goddesses, 4 hands, 10 hands, all the things they have in their hands. Some gods are white, some are pale yellow, some are red, some are orange, some are green, some are blue. All these are symbols. The only difference is they are not art. They are not art pieces. But we understand one thing, that symbols have meaning. But as far as we are concerned, in this European art, like Indian art, these are not codified. Western, in art form, their artists took their own liberty. And more often than not, if the artist doesn't tell you, you don't actually get the meanings, or you get the meanings, but you don't know whether this is what he wanted to say or convey. You can make your own story, because the meaning you are taking out of symbol, it may or may not be what that artist wanted to convey. These artists, they used visual symbols. Again, very vague. They use certain times, yes, like crow, or a head of a skull, bones, these kind of things which are quite obvious. They use certain times the colors, which are fairly obvious what they mean. But one funny kind of weakness they had for supernatural things and magical, dream, even their subjects revolved around these points. And the paintings were like that. It was very difficult. It is very difficult to actually understand. Uh, it reminds me of a joke, actually. Uh, Quite some time ago, Russian troops used to come to India with their cultural troupe. One of the MCs of a program, after he finished, he stood for a little while and then said, when we went to England, I talked the way I talk today. Then a man came to me after I finished and congratulated me by saying, I like you. I like the way you talk. But what did you talk? These paintings are like that, alike, the same way. You may enjoy these paintings and, as Brinda said, an aura around it, because these are so complex and so, in painting, very often these are so detailed work that, yes, you like them, you are in awe, but you really don't understand the meaning of it. Yeah, if you look at this painting for a little while, please enlarge the first paintings, that big mural. Yeah, if you look at the detailed work, it is a rather big painting. And yes, all kind of details, all kind of imagery. By the time you finish seeing that, thinking about it, it's very difficult to understand what they have done. You can only say it's a beautiful painting, and that's about all. Exactly what all Mrs. Ghosh said applies to these also. That is the imagery. If you can see, there is a bird kind of thing there. There are animals. Very often, these animals are also imaginary animals. Very often, these are not actually the animals you see, except those one or two ones like bird, crow, or a dove, where yes, it is there is an obvious meaning symbol it represents, but more often than not, these are new things which they have introduced. And it is also not a fact that in that period, if artist A has used something, that would become a motif, and same thing will be used by other artists. No, it has not been done that way. Can we go to the second one? Paint. Yes. Frankly speaking, I have no idea what the painting is all about. I have to do a special, probably, research and reading about it to find out
like a
what it
spider,
is.
a man trapped in
With
a spider.
with a man's head, or God knows whether the spider has swallowed the man. Let's go to the next painting, please. And very often these are taken from mythological stories or folk tales, etc. So very often the animals are also those imaginary animals. So I don't know exactly from which. At times, these are biblical stories, but more often than not, these are their local tales and stories. Yes, next. As I said, we can only look at them, and academicians can judge that with the canons they know, they understand, and that's about all. And you will see that hardly anywhere really bright and happy colors are used. Most of the places it's gloomy, dreamy, and not very cheering colors. Yes, next. Yeah.
This is the last one.
Yeah. So this shows what actually I wanted to say, that the whole thing revolves around some kind of mystic, some kind of mystery, and abstract, as if they used it to say something, but hide it also, so that and I don't know if people also enjoyed it because it teased them, their uh, mind and their imagination. The people saw all that. And each painting is more complex than the other. You can only say that a woman is sitting, a man is sitting, but they are not absolutely normal, or they are not handled in a normal or natural way. They are always represented in a very abstract way. Uh, that's what I had to say in this, I think. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Are there any reflections, any questions, anything that any participant would like to share before we go on to Jatin's uh, explanation of the usage of symbolism in music? Is there anyone? You can just switch on your mics and say. I think Manisha will help us with that. Otherwise, we move. Yes.
Brinda ma'am, you have a poetry to read. A message was sent to you by a teacher from your school. She wants a poetry to be read.
Okay. Uh, please do that. I haven't seen the message. I'm so sorry. Who's the teacher who would like to read? Can we have the teacher read her poem? Okay, we'll come back to the poem. Jatin, let's move on to your session. And the teacher who wants to read, if I could please request you to be ready. And we'll give you the last few minutes.
Rohini Agarwal has sent the poem.
Rohini.
Yeah.
Rohini,
And the
are you
poetry
there?
goes very simple. Let me go.
Yes, ma'am.
When I came to the when I
Oh,
come
Rohini is
to the
here.
end of the road, yeah.
Yeah, come, Rohini, read, please.
Oh, should I read it?
Yeah, you don't want to? Read it. It's
Yeah,
yours.
just hold on. I'll just read it. I sent it few days back. Yeah. Let me go. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not for long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that once we shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of master plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know. Laugh at all the things we used to do. Miss me, but let me go. Thank you, ma'am. It's by
Thank you, Rohini.
Christina Rossetti.
Right, okay. Yes, Jatin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I am audible. Am I audible clearly, ma'am?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So today,
Sorry to disturb, Jatin, sir. Your voice is very low.
okay, voice is low. Now,
Yeah, much better,
Great.
Jatin.
Perfect.
perfect. Okay. So today, I have chosen this composer. His name is Tchaikovsky, and why? And I have chosen the composition which is named as the Swan Lake. And how swan is used as a symbol in his composition, like if we have seen any like mythology, in the mythology I have seen this a lot, like how the swan is used generally as a symbol of peace, as a symbol of love, as a symbol of loyalty. So the thing is that and how I came to know about Tchaikovsky, because a few years ago I saw a movie. The name of the movie was The Swan Lake, and the piece that is composed by the Tchaikovsky, it's a ballet piece. Like it was composed in 1875, and till this time it is one of the hardest piece for any ballerina to master. Like that level of composition Tchaikovsky has made. Apart from that, a lot of inspirations were also there, like folk tales, because since I already told that how the swan is used in a lot of mythologies. So, by the way, the piece that was composed in 1875, The Swan, in which the plot is like there is a king, and he fell in love with one woman. The name of the woman was Odette, and Odette was cursed by the sorcerer. Okay, because sorcerer was just jealous of the prince or whatever the reason was, because there's a very long story about it. So Audit and sorcerer actually put a bad spell on the audit and transformed her into a swan. And actually, the prince's name was Siegfried, meets a beautiful swan audit and proclaims his love for her. But Rothbard, who is the sorcerer, continues and tricks Siegfried into betraying Audit by professing his love for Ordile. Ordile is the daughter of sorcerer, by the way. So two characters are here. We have three actually. One is the prince, but two main characters. One is Audit and other is Ordile. And actually there's a drama about which was there, but these two characters are symbolized as a swan. Now one is the black swan and another is the white swan. By the way, the movie was also came in
Yes.
2010. The
True.
movie's name was the Swan. The
The
Swan.
Swan Lake.
I think it's
Yeah,
And
and
it's a
but
very, very famous ballet, as you rightly said. Yeah.
yeah,
Chai.
and but in that movie, that black swan character was used as a mental state of the performer instead of the real plot, because in the real plot they are showing the evil, good, and the bad. But in that movie, they actually showed how the artist was obsessed with her own character, and she tried to, lose the reality. And she wanted to, because the obsession was so much that actually she lost her own identity and wanted to convert herself into the character of her ballet. Like, she was obsessed with that so much. Okay, apart from that, um, by the way, the composition that I will be sharing right now, that is actually a ballet composition. But this time I will be sharing the figure skating that is based on that. Why so? Because with the figure skating, like, I have a little obsession with the sports also, but that's a different topic. But right now, this figure skating was actually based on that. I mean, there are a lot of different figure skatings which are based on the classical music, but this particular one I wanted to share today. By the way, let me tell you few features about this particular piece. So this piece, once the piece will start, you will start listening to some phrases that are played with the violin, and those are the continuous phrases which are actually used to define the vulnerability of a character. And this particular dance is the third movement in that, because the full plot is divided in four different movements. So this is the third movement where the black swan is trying to seduce the king, and after that, in the last movement, when the king and the white swan decided to die and break the spell. But this is the third movement based dance. Okay. And by the way, the quality of the violin, like the way the music and the melody is composed here, is more like lyrical and haunting character, because ultimately they are trying to represent the evil out of it. So let me just share my screen. I hope screen is audible to everyone. Oh, visible to everyone. And once I will play
Yes,
the piece, then let's check
it
the
is visible.
perfect. Just a second. So from this particular moment, the piece will start. And I hope that you will try to notice every element that is used with the music to define the character of the swan. This was the whole performance by it. And apart from that, why particularly this thing I have chosen? Because the way she has performed in that, I mean, what is making this ballad so much difficult? Like, when I was looking at the elements of the performer, it was clearly mentioned like 32 spins straight to express the character also, and the state of vulnerability in which the character was. And she was using the same elements in that, in her figure skating. And figure skating is not like a classical ballet, of course, but combining those elements in that modern form was also like very fascinating. Apart from that, there was a particular area in which the like violence also started haunting, and which was clearly the character of the black swan which they wanted to express. And particularly, I really loved this performance when I was searching about the Tchaikovsky and the symbolism. So this is what I wanted to share for today.
Yeah.
And
Very nice. I think, the Swan Lake, the story of Swan Lake, of course, is something that is very, something that stays with you. But I remember having seen the movie, and it was something that really shook us. And besides the beauty of the ballet, it was the music. So it was, I think, the Russian composer, um, Tchaikovsky.
Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Uh,
So his composition and the way the entire direction was done, the Black Swan and the White Swan, that last piece, it's still in my memory. I still remember that entire scene. I mean, it was years ago that I had seen it, and it just stays with us, you know. So thank you for bringing this back. And also thank you for bringing in another connection. The beauty over here is that we are connecting music,
Is gone.
art, poetry to sport. Right. You just said that you were keenly interested in sport, and therefore you chose this medium of the figure skating to bring across this piece of music. So, if you again strengthening every week, this aspect of ours gets strengthened further and further, that learning is so interconnected. And this multidisciplinary approach really helps children to get a wider perspective of things. It broadens their horizon, and you know, the connections become so easy to make, and it really takes them to a different level. I think all of us who attend these sessions go back richer, because we all have a different way to approach whatever we study or we teach. So we are looking at so many different aspects over here, and I don't think any training is going to give you these kind of lessons where we can see the correct connections so evidently. It's so palpable, and I hope that whoever is here, the few of us who are here, are going to benefit by this, and that we will be able to further share the message with our teacher colleagues, to tell them that here's something that is worth thinking about, that's worth listening to. So thank you everybody for being here. And if anybody would like to say anything just for a minute, we can have reflections quickly, or you could write and share your reflections, send messages to us so we know if we have to make any kind of a change or an improvement or anything that you want included in the whole thing. That would be lovely. Sandeep is
Yeah, thank you,
chosen to
Brenda.
break his silence.
Thank you so much, Brenda. You know what is important? We are creating 45-minute best lessons for the world. Let's focus
Absolutely.
on that. So when we do a session, all of us have to be prepared that if you pause to say something,
Yeah.
be optimize your few seconds you have, because every second costs us phenomenally.
Yes.
So all of us who attend, you are welcome to unmute and talk, and you are privileged that you can unmute and talk in a legacy we are building. Come with that spirit. You don't come here as a call of duty or compulsion. You come here for only one thing. I don't think you can guess what that is. It's pure, just one word: love.
Passion. Absolute
In the
passion.
love, forget passion.
Yeah.
I think it's love, absolutely. So,
Absolutely.
and
I think
love,
Meenakshi wants to say something. Her
yeah,
hand is
love encapsulates everything.
everything.
So next time, people who can't find the link, just let them be out. They don't deserve to be here if they're testing the link in the middle of the session. That's a message to all of them. That if you're going to test your link in the middle of the section and find out where the password is, the train is gone. How
Yeah.
can you board it? Yeah, thank
True.
you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Yes, Meenakshi, quick word.
Yes, ma'am. Today there was a teacher. There's a teacher in our school, Lalita Pal, who wanted to join in. I've been talking about your sessions, about how
Right.
poetry and music and art is
Art.
combined.
Yeah.
And she was very interested in joining, but I don't know ultimately why she did not join. She actually had asked me for the link and everything. I'd transferred it to her.
Right. Okay.
But it's nice. Teachers are getting interested. That's basically
Right.
the thing. That's what I wanted.
Sandeep wants to say
Meenakshi,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
Meenakshi, the fault is yours. Please
Mm,
download the Zoom app in everyone's phone. Once you
right.
open the Zoom app, just write down the number and passcode. That is the best way to attend. Please
I guess
download the Zoom app. Don't wait for the link. Because if
right.
you want to wait for the link and then you want to enter the password, there is a possibility you will use some old link. ये आया था अब जैसे
Yeah.
today I had a request from another school. Is the link for today also for tomorrow? I said, well, tomorrow is a new day. I said, tomorrow is a new day. We have 4 days a week. If we have that, you know what happened last time. We get
Yeah,
imposters then.
that's right.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
want to avoid imposters. The best way, which I am doing right now, I'm on a phone, by the way. So I
Yeah.
downloaded the Zoom app this morning because I knew I would not be able to access my computer.
Right.
So an app
Right.
is very easy for everyone. It's the easiest way. I mean, just open the app and write the passcode. Note the
Absolutely.
passcode in pencil side by side, or copy and paste
Mhm.
it.
Right.
Yes,
But
Rohini, quickly. Do you want to say something, Rohini? Your hand is raised.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to ask the poem I share. Like, is it appropriate to be shared here, or we need something much
Okay,
better?
I just want to say something, Rohini. If you want to share a poem, just let us know earlier. What we would like, really love, is if you can share your own compositions. That would be fantastic and welcome, right? That would be really nice. But the poem that you shared is one of those, again, universally favorite poems. So good sharing. Right.
Thank you.
We must thank Rohini because she took the initiative of
Initiative.
posting it in the
Absolutely.
classroom. We had not
Yeah.
noticed that is a different thing, but she posted in the
In
WhatsApp
the
classroom.
classroom. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I
Right.
Thank you, Rohini.
posted generally to for people to read.
Yeah, to
I
read.
didn't
Yes.
thought I would have read it over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Something.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll meet
Thank
again
you,
next
ma'am.
Thursday. Thank you.